Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. What the frick are conservative numbers and why do people use them? This video is going to happen for two reasons. The first, because recently talking to somebody about using conservative numbers when investing and reaching financial freedom, and whether it's stocks, real estate, crypto, whatever it is, I told somebody, make sure you use conservative numbers in your equation. And she said, but I'm a liberal. And I really wish that was a joke. That's the first reason. Second reason, we're going to talk about what are conservative numbers and why I want to make this video and why would I spend an entire intro to a live stream on what are conservative numbers. The definition's wrong. So if I share my screen, first you'll see YouTube for a second. Then I will go here to where I did the magic Google search of what are conservative numbers. Definition. A conservative number is an estimate that is intentionally lower than the actual value. It is a cautious guess that is likely to be less than the real amount. Okay, when it comes to investing, why do we use conservative numbers? What are conservative numbers? The definition is wrong because sometimes it's right and sometimes it's wrong. And the second law of logic says that can't be the case. It either is or it isn't. So if you're looking to buy or sell or a house, and you think, okay, what is the competition willing to pay? You're probably going to estimate higher. If you're going to sell the house and you need to have a certain amount of money to do something else, would you estimate higher? If you're going to rent a house out, let's say you buy a house. Now you have a mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, insurance. You have the cost of maintenance and repairs. You have the cost of vacancy, property taxes, insurance going up, all of that. Is a conservative number to think that the rents would be lower than they actually are? Yes. If you go to refinance a property and you're thinking, I wonder what would be with these interest rates, would you say that it's conservative to think, I'll use a lower interest rate? No, conservative would be a higher interest rate. If you're going to estimate the cost to do a rehab, to put in flooring, to swap out cabinets, to do this, are you going to be conservative and say, well, I know the contractor said it's going to be about $30,000, but conservatively, I think it's going to only be 20. Conservative numbers don't mean that it's likely to be less than what you're estimating or likely to be more than what you're estimating. It means, here's the definition of what are conservative numbers: a guesstimate that is most likely to lead to success. So in some cases, we're going to estimate smaller. How much do I assume I can rent this place out for? A conservative number is lower. How much do I assume it's going to cost to repair this? When I had a rehab done, my first and last BRRRR, contractor, a couple estimates came in at 30,000. So conservatively, I figured it'd be around 50. And to be conservative, I set aside 80 and ended up investing 62,000 in the rehab. Conservatively, the contractor said it would take about 3 months. I figured about 6 months because it would take a while to get permits. So I was conservative in my estimate of how long it was going to take, which meant longer. I was conservative in how much it was going to cost, which meant more. I was conservative when it came to how much did I think I could rent it out for, which meant less. Conservative numbers have nothing to do with politics, Stephanie. And it doesn't mean the number is going to be smaller. The reason I wanted to break this down for people who invest in real estate or stocks is we don't conservatively estimate that inflation is going to be going down. We don't conservatively estimate that interest rates are going to be going down. Conservatively, we think inflation will be more. Conservatively, we think interest rates will be higher. We think we'll be able to rent it out for less. A conservative amount left in reserves is not a smaller number. When my portfolio had about 7 units, I kept about $10,000 in reserves. But as my portfolio grew, I figured more things can go wrong at the same time. So to be conservative, the number went from 10 to 30. And then when I stopped working and I thought I don't have the safety that comes from that drug that kills our dreams, a paycheck, I conservatively increased my reserves to 50,000. So whenever you're talking to an investor and they say something like, let's make sure we're using conservative numbers, like tonight, we have a members only meeting at 6 o'clock. There was a course call tonight, but the course call is moved to tomorrow. Hopefully you got the email. Course call was moved till tomorrow night when Cody Davis of Multifamily Strategies will be joining us for the live stream for the course call, not live, not recorded, because it'll be some gray area sketchy stuff, which we can't put on YouTube. But in the members only tonight, the point of the members only is to look at a property. And yes, it's way more than the math. But when we do come to the math, we start off with, what if we paid listing price? What if we couldn't get the asking rents we thought? What if our interest rate was higher? What if the cost to make rent ready was higher? We're conservative with some bigger numbers and some smaller rents, bigger insurance, bigger taxes, smaller margin. Conservatively, we're thinking, which numbers do we use that gives us the most likelihood to be successful? Now, the problem with conservative numbers and using them is it's not quite a pendulum. It doesn't go back and forth like a buyer's and seller's market. But the problem with the conservative numbers is you can go too far. If you estimate that the rents you can get for a place are zero, all deals become bad and you would never buy any property. So if you think rents are going to be much lower than they actually are, do a real rent study. Take a couple of weeks, study Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Zillow, Apartments.com, Realtor, what's actually for rent, what goes off the market, what comes back higher, what goes lower. Figure out what the rent point is per bedroom to get a good feel for that. Stay in constant contact with your lenders every few weeks to figure out what's going on with interest rates based on your circumstances, because so many people go, current interest rates are 7%. Sure, what's your loan to value? What's your net worth? What's your credit score? What's your credit history? What's your debt to income ratio? Like, there might be a few things that impact that interest rate that are more than what is everybody getting for interest rates right now. I made a conservative mistake recently, and I want to thank, I hate my memory, Downtown Charlie Brown, I think was the name. He's commented on several videos, and his comment was a bit harsh, and it's what made me take pause and sit back. And I did a whiteboard video, and I broke down, what was the video about? What would happen if I paid off all my properties? It was a recent video, and it wasn't very good. I would work 7 more years to add $5,000 a month to my cash flow. But Downtown Charlie Brown said, I call BS, hence this strong message, which is okay. I always encourage a healthy debate. He said, I call BS on your mortgage payments being $9,000 a month on $1.8 million in debt. And I sat back and I thought, well, he's stupid. Knee-jerk reaction, right? If somebody points out a mathematical flaw in one of my videos, guarantee they're right, like, period. So I sat down and I thought, okay, I'm conservative with my numbers. I have borrowed $1.8 million. I know the numbers. I $320,000 in down payments came from my W-2 job. $300,000 came from rental income. So I've invested $620,000. Like, I can rattle these numbers off. I've made video after video after video after it. But I left out a metric because I'm being conservative. Now, this isn't a metric that blows up in my face and makes me wrong. It's a metric that says, oh, I'm more likely to succeed if I wasn't factoring in that. I've borrowed $1.8 million with conservative numbers. I wasn't factoring in principal paydown. So I buy a duplex in 2013. Since 2013, every month, the first month, the tenant was paying like $320 off the mortgage every month, but it goes up $1, $1.50 every month since then, consistently each month. Bought one in 2015, principal pay down. Bought one at the end of 2016, principal pay down. Bought a fourplex and a triplex in 2020. So in 2021, when I started making videos and I started talking about, oh, I've borrowed about $1.8 million. I've never, go back to videos. 2021, I talk about $1.8 million in debt. Video from a week or two ago, I talk about $1.8 million in debt. But the principal pay down that happened over those years, over each one of those properties, the refinance that happened in 2020 was done at the lower amount after the principal pay down. So yeah, I've borrowed 1.8 million. Being conservative, I've always estimated that amount to be bigger by not factoring in the principal pay down. So downtown Charlie Brown, thank you for pointing out my flaw. That's how my mortgages end up being 9,000. They were 8,000 for a while until insurance rates went up so much and property taxes increased a little. So the goal is to be conservative to the point where if you're wrong in your numbers a bit, you're not going to fail. Millennial Mike does his first two BRRRRs a couple of years ago, starts the process, I believe, in the end of 2021, when interest rates were going from 3 to 4%. And he started it, but he was very conservative in his numbers. He thought if I had to rent it for lower, if it took longer to do, if interest rates went up, I'd still succeed. Interest rates went to 7% by the time he was finished with the project and went to refinance. Because he started the process with conservative numbers to where, yeah, he probably didn't get the 20 or 25% cash on cash return on those deals because the interest rates almost tripled, over doubled for him. But since he had conservative equation processes, he's still making money. It was still a good investment. He's still glad he did it, right? So we don't estimate so far on the conservative side that no deal is ever good, unless they aren't. Right? If you're living in San Diego, it might make sense to pull a Ryan and jump on board with somebody else investing in Gary, Indiana and invest at a distance. It doesn't mean the number's smaller. It means which number is more likely to lead to your success. And that could be a bigger number. It could be a smaller number. It could be a longer timeline. It could be a shorter timeline. It is very important that you not only use conservative numbers, but you understand which ones should be bigger and which ones should be smaller, because that really matters. And in the members only groups meetings, we'll take about 35 to 45 minutes and we will go over the math at some point. It's a very small part. We don't practice the math until we get it right, right? We practice the math until we can't get it wrong. And then we go over the numbers over and over and over and over on if this would be a good deal or not. But it's like, I want to say 5 to 10% of the decision-making process if a rental is good. It can be an instant disqualifier, right? It can be a big red flag. And not everybody is a tourist like me that just charges those red flags. But if you have math that works, then we go through. Why does it take 45 minutes for us to talk about what we go through that will take you about 90 seconds in real time to do? And if you're a member, tonight, the member meeting that is at 6 o'clock, we are going to record it as a member. It will be a members only live. But then tomorrow morning, I'm going to change the setting so that it goes from members to public. So if you're a member, only join tonight if you're okay with everybody seeing you on Zoom. And don't say things that we say in the gray area sketchy videos, because I want this to be able to go out on YouTube. I want people, because there's a reason why my members are separate from my videos. Members only, I think, would kill my channel. It's super boring. We open an email, we look at a rental, then we talk about everything we look at in that rental, whether it comes down to the market that it's in, how we would establish what the crime is in the area, how we would look at the flood zone, how we would calculate rents. Then we could do at some point, go through the math. What would the cash on cash return be? We look at how many days it's on market. We go through all these things. It's just 45 minutes of us literally learning the skill of looking at a deal. We do it twice a month. So there are now dozens, 54. Tonight is 54th members only video. And they're all there for members to go back and look at for the people who are learning the skill. Or if somebody just becomes a member, looks at a bunch of videos to learn the skill. Once you know the skill, then you take that and you track down the properties you want to buy. But I don't have those videos on my regular YouTube channel. So this one members only will be turned into a regular one video that you can watch starting tomorrow morning. so people can see at least once, here's how that skill works, what the mental process is to do a 90-second thing that takes 45 minutes to explain the steps of that 90 seconds. So looking forward to seeing the members there, looking forward to seeing the comments from all the people that say, yeah, if I saw this, I totally would never come back to your channel because it's super boring. But for the people who are learning the skill, it's not boring. How many people noticed the misspelled word in the thumbnail? It's something I got from a sign language teacher, I want to say in 1994, 95. You used to come into the class. They had classrooms. You couldn't distance view everything. And there would be printouts, physical paper with printing on it on the whiteboard of 2 or 3 words that you had to write down. And every now and then the teacher would put up missing letters. And that sparked the biggest debate, the biggest conversation, the most attention on the thing on the board that a lot of people just kind of ignored or just glanced at. But if somebody noticed it was misspelled, it would circle through the room. People would talk about what was the intention of the words, what was missing. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the person I was talking to that said they're a liberal, they can't use conservative numbers, probably would have spelled it that way. It was spelled correctly in the title of the video, but not the thumbnail. So hopefully somebody out there gets my humor. Thank you for hanging out through the intro of that video. The rest of this video is going to be dedicated to your questions, top of mind awareness answers from somebody who reached financial freedom, who's not that bright, who doesn't have a good memory, and who was not organized, and who doesn't have a drinking problem. People with drinking problems are like ninjas. We don't exist. Ask any one of us. We'll tell you. Dennis, howdy. Is this a wordplay or misspelling on the thumbnail? Meowdy, the misspelled meowdy. How many people would pay attention if I said howdy all the time? But if I say meowdy every morning in the Michael Zuber live chat, they get it back to me because people pay attention to misspelled words or mispronounced names. Mispronouncing names has 2 purposes. One, if you're trying to get people to remember somebody's name, say it wrong, you'll be corrected. 2, when you meet somebody, let them know how important getting people's names right is, and then get theirs wrong. Jason, howdy. Good evening. About 15 days left until Vegas. Yes, I'm going to be there on the 12th. Found out my Airbnb starts on the 13th, so the 12th is going to be interesting. If you're coming to Vegas, it's the one rental at a time. I found my tribe. So I had to think if I was wearing pants. Found my tribe t-shirt. Thank you, old guy RAI. Frank is amazing. Good choice on the size. Tesla likes hers too. Good stuff. Howdy, Frank. Good to see you there. Freedom Works. Anna K. Howdy, Chester. Good to see you guys. Evening. Get your one rental at a time tickets for Vegas because sales are shutting down Friday. Whether sold out or not, they're done. I think there was only 2 VIP tickets left the last time I heard him talking. Tony Carr. Howdy. Good to see you here. Great day, everyone. Ryan. Howdy. Taco Tuesdays. David. Howdy. BuzzTune. Mikey. Good to see you. Cash flow is freeing. It totally, absolutely is. JMC. Howdy. Robert Baranelli. Crimson Knight. Dion, how much landlording time did we add since last live stream? So since last Tuesday. What did I do? I showed my brother the unit to see the progress. That's not landlording. I was hanging out with my brother. Probably 15 minutes because I believe I paid a handyman with Venmo, paid an exterior cleaner with Zelle. Did I do anything? I had to do something. Oh no. Yeah. No, that was like 3 weeks ago. So another 15 minutes this week. Is that true? I'm trying to think. I had to do something. There was something with real estate. Oh, aha. This only happened for like 3 seconds. But I thought about getting taxes ready. Just thinking about it count as landlording? Chester, conservatism and liberalism is how much of a more pessimistic or optimistic viewpoint that someone makes or estimates. Yeah, I think the phrase I like when it comes to conservative numbers is words speak, numbers scream, but your numbers need to lean. Don't be far right, don't be far left, but lean. Which way, bigger or smaller, makes sense for you this time? King Nick, howdy. Finally took a step of reaching out to realtors. Apparently, in the state of Georgia, we have exclusive buyer brokerage agreements, which I hadn't any idea existed. So, King Nick, those actually are more common now since the NAR settlement happened. There was a lawsuit with the National Association of Realtors where a lot of brokerages sat down and said, okay, if you're going to do anything with somebody, they've got to sign an exclusivity agreement. So read through it, figure out what kind of time commitment you're making. I mean, I have no problem working with one agent as long as they're doing their job, but I wouldn't want to commit for buying, for like hunting for a property. I think 6 months would be the longest I'd sign with somebody. But I have still reached out to agents and I still have auto searches set up that I don't have an exclusivity agreement with. States might be different, but when you're working with one, the agent should be protecting their time with that. Uh, I would make sure it's limited to a timeline, 3 months, 6 months, the shortest amount you can get them to agree to. Tell them, look, I might sign a longer one, but let's take a short dating trip to figure out if we work well together, and then I might commit to something longer. The biggest problem with dating is people don't realize that it's actually a vetting process. Same thing with agents. Chester, politics, I would think, fashions itself after these two estimation principles. Lord knows the accounting profession borrowed from these estimation principles. True. Fat Sal, howdy. How to talk to tenant about a move out date. They are currently month to month. You probably have a legal requirement to give so much notice on non-renewal of lease. Some states in some counties won't let you non-renew a lease unless there's a lease violation or you meet some other criteria. You're moving in, you're rehabbing the unit, you're selling the unit. So you have to know your local laws. It can be different everywhere. For me, best way to communicate with a tenant when it's a soft subject, something like, and this is, I hate doing examples because I'm not the metaphor guy, but if you drove by and you noticed they had some trash sitting out on the porch. City people just said, what's a porch? You send a text, hey, take the trash off. If you drive by and it's still there, then you send an email, because in most places emails are admissible in court and texts aren't. For me, depending on how far you are from the property, how often do you communicate with the tenant, a phone call could happen. I would usually text first, and start with, whenever you're talking with tenants, it's a negotiation. And one of the things we went over in the course recently is anytime you're having a negotiation, most people don't make it to the third part of a negotiation. They go, what's in it for the person you're talking to? So that makes people think they know what angle to approach from. So does this tenant want to move out? Are they going to be buying a place where your reference as a landlord doesn't matter as much? But are they renting a place where you can bring up, hey, I might, I'll give you a good reference as long as we have clear communication. So what matters to the person? Then you want to figure out what matters to you. So the second step in a negotiation is what matters to you. Knowing when they're getting out, and if you can adjust it in any way to where it's easier for you to have time to get it ready before the next start of a month, with at least a week before the start of a month, so you can list a property, have the most likelihood of it renting out soon. Prorate days, I've rented out in the middle of the month too. But what works best in your market? What matters to you? Is it the state of cleanliness when they go? Is it when they go, the date they go? Is it that they continue to pay to the day that they leave, right? What matters to you? The third thing, this is the thing in a negotiation I never hear anybody talking about. When you do a negotiation with somebody about anything, what are you both losing? Are they moving because they can't afford it? Are they moving because they're splitting up? Are they moving because something changed in their life? Their parents are sick, they have to move closer. What are you losing? You're losing a paying tenant. You're losing the money, the cost of the rehab. Yeah, you're gaining probably higher market rents or something, but think through the equation from a negotiation of what do they get? Let them know what you get so they don't suspect a scam. That if you don't tell people what you're getting, they're going to think you're getting something way worse than what you are. And the third thing is, what are you both losing? So you might know which topics to avoid. You might know which solutions to present without even having questions asked. Text to initiate soft subjects, emails anytime it's going to get something that can go to court, and a phone call, unless you're really close, go knock on the door. And it depends on your relationship with the tenant. So, I mean, transparency is usually the best, but a strategic approach to it can still be transparent. Liz, howdy. Nick, hope to see you, Liz, in the members only tonight at 6 o'clock. The realtor has worked, and not everybody has to join Zoom, but you can. The realtor has worked with me so far, yet I haven't yet signed the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. They might get pretty pushy at some point. After that settlement, some things changed. Even agents that I knew that didn't care are telling people that I referred to them that they have to have an agreement. Ask them to see whether they can simply send the properties via email. This shouldn't be as much. That's what I've done for a long time. Millennial Mike, howdy. And if I hadn't been so conservative, I would have been absolutely scorched on the cash out refinance portion. Absolutely. Conservative on the rents, the timeline, the estimates, the interest rates. Did you tell everybody that you proposed to your girl yet, Mike? Conservatively, he's going to punch me the next time we see each other. Duplex Dave. It'll be like distraction. Pow. Howdy, Dave. Bill? All-nighter. Yes, means my deal fit my style better. There you go. Duplex Dave. 1031 exchanged. Both my rentals out of San Diego helped me scale pretty quick. There you go. Wayne Wong. Cheers. Howdy, everybody. Joining a little late. Late start wealth. That fits the name. Rob. Howdy. The problem in San Diego is the numbers are liberal. That's good. I like it. Ivan. Howdy. Meowdy. Closed on our first rental, changing locks and getting it rent ready. Thank you for all the knowledge. That's awesome. Congratulations. Be ready for your stress to change form, right? Under contract, going through closing, all of that is very stressful. Getting it rent ready. What if you have to lower rents? What if you have to screen tenants? What if you put somebody in who pays their deposit? What, if you can't find it, that's the stress. Then the stress becomes, what if you put a professional tenant in and they don't pay the next month? Your stress will continuously change. It's worth it. It gets easier. It never goes away. Stress just becomes something else in the future. I see member gifts going on. Dennis the Menace. Thanks, Dennis. Nice. Nice name, James. But not today. Did you gift it to somebody too? Wayne Wong was gifted. Wayne, hope to see you in the members tonight at 6 o'clock. Gifted by Dennis. Robert gifted. Deconstructing Dreams was gifted by Dennis. Ryan was gifted. Eric was gifted. That's awesome. Thank you. That is pretty cool. So I'll go over members again so everybody knows. On my channel right now, there's a members only meeting that is only visible to members that starts tonight at 6. At about 6, I will put a link in the chat to the Zoom and you can jump in. You don't have to. Nobody's required. You can sit in the chat on YouTube. I sometimes miss the chat there, but I try to pay attention to it. And on Zoom, we literally go through deals. Usually one takes about 45 minutes, and then it's open questions at the end. This one will be released on regular YouTube tomorrow. Thank you, Dennis. That is pretty cool. And I see you have a question here. Okay. Do you use any software tools besides Hemlane? There is so much out there like Rent Ready, Baseline, Turbo Tenant, Zillow. Hard to tell what's best. No. No. Yes. No. No. Currently, Hemlane and a spreadsheet that me and my CPA made together. So it's got the columns and the information that the CPA needs, and then it's got the data that I want to manage my properties. Easy to search for in there. Hemlane has options of back-end information, right? They've made improvements to it over the years. Zillow and Apartments, most of my information is in there on the properties that I listed when that was what I was using before going to Hemlane. I have all of my, where is my, oh, there it is. Oh no. This is as detailed as I get about my real estate. I should probably make another video on this one. I haven't done this one in a while. My entire portfolio is in this book. This is like people have a vision board. I have a vision book. Every 10 pages or so gets a property. And I think I marked one so I can show it in videos. Yeah. This one. Has, I've covered up like the codes so you can go change the code locks to get in there. The mortgage numbers, the insurance numbers, but it has when it was purchased, when it was refied, when anything in it was repaired, when maintenance was done, tenant turnover, what current leases were, all written here. So if at any point in time, anywhere in the country, I can tell one of my kids to go into my studio, get the leather book, and look at this property, tell me something if I can't find it online for some reason. I also have this is my book on dating. And if my kids ever want to know anything that I've done there, they can come and find this in the same place. Uh, None of them want to look in that book. So the book is somewhat organized, more of a motivation that, every 10 pages, every property gets 10 pages. So there's a lot of 10 pages. Early on, it was like motivation to put properties in there. Spreadsheet with the CPA, email it to myself occasionally, just in case whatever computer it's on dies or if whatever cloud it's on, I don't have access to. I'll always have access to emails from anywhere. All the information in there. I use Hemlane for listing the properties because it puts it on 30 platforms. There's so many options for things, but what you can do is you can make this as complicated or as simple as you want. And I'm always looking for simpler ways to do things. But yeah, I've never used Turbo Tenant, Baseline, Rent Ready, none of those. Hope that answers the question, Dennis, and thank you for that. I hope to see everybody who was gifted a membership and the members only tonight. If you like them and you want to learn the skill, hang out, ask questions. You can be a member the next month. If you don't renew it, for this month, you have access to all previous members only, so you can go back and learn the skill, practice it. Congratulations, Ivan. Nice shirt, Wayne. Thank you. Only one VIP left this morning. See you, Wayne. Oh, so he missed out. If anybody has his number, Mike, you know Wayne, text him that he was gifted a members thing. Robert, howdy. What did I do? A very good answer to that question. It's one I want to hear. There you go. Ellen, hi to Frank. Can you share the shirt link? Millennium Mike. D and the Airbnb starts on the 12th. You are fake news. You sent me a picture today, this morning. I'm looking at this picture. Right here. It says, where it goes, check in Wednesday, February 12th. Why did I say 13th? It's Wednesday. I'm going Tuesday. That's what it is. It's not the days. I have to check. I don't know. You don't sleep in Vegas anyways. I'll just go walk the strip for a day. So it is. Yeah, you sent me the picture. It's the 12th. But I show up Tuesday. I'm there Tuesday to Monday. That's okay. I'm good at making friends. I will find a place to stay. King Nick, regarding the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, it's for 60 days. And thanks. Yeah, 60, I'd be fine with that. 2 months. Yep. System of a Clown. Great name. Howdy. Love it. Given what you have achieved, congrats at your age, how do you justify not cashing out? Ooh, I just don't. I don't justify it. So Zuber from One Rental at a Time recently asked a question of all of his guests. What value would your properties have to get to for you to just sell everything and walk away? And to me, it's inversely proportionate to what people would expect. The greater the value of my assets, the less likely I would be to sell. Right now, gross value 6.8 or so. If I added them up, I'd have to do the math there, downtown Charlie Brown, and I'd probably get it wrong. But it's not quite 7 million. It's above 6.5, so it's in there somewhere. I think I owe now like 1.5 million. I have to do the math and put them all together to see what's actually left. So if I sold everything, paid the taxes, paid the cost of selling, probably any concessions, probably walk away with $3 million, maybe a little bit more, 3.2, 3.3. It's kind of tempting. $3 million in cash you can put into an index fund. I can diversify it into different things and just live off that. I'm in my 50s. I probably have 20 years of spending money left and then some, probably be broke and move into a home. Who cares? I don't want my kids taking care of me. Everybody write that down. I've seen how they handle pets. I want a paid professional. But let's say property values shot up and all of a sudden my gross value for my properties went to like 15 million. My debt doesn't go up. That's pretty cool. I still owe like 1.5 maybe when I have to do the math. Uh, now I wouldn't sell. If the value of assets goes up so much that it's tempting to sell for the money, the value of the assets didn't change. The currency was devalued. I would then want the assets. So it's that the assets grew over a long enough period of time due to fair appreciation, 5 to 10%, not the 20 and 19% that we had in the last couple of years. If we keep doing that, I'm probably never going to sell. Like, it's weird. So it's weird. It's a balance. MAAT. If you're a Sanctuary fan, you know what that is. My balance is I'll probably sell if it's worth around 5 million, but it takes at least another 2 or 3 years to get there. If it jumped up and was worth 5 million that I would walk away with now, I probably wouldn't sell. The more it was worth, the less likely I am to sell. But cashing out, I think cashing out at 70, sure. Seller finance the whole portfolio, probably sell one property, take care of any remaining debt, and then seller finance the entire portfolio to Millennium Mike. And then he'll have it from 50 to 70. Maybe do the same thing with somebody younger or his kid. Who knows? Kid might not want real estate like mine. Who knows? Flip for Fire. How much is a membership? It's $2.99 a month or $4.99. There is no difference. It's just how much you want to support the channel, and I'm totally fine with the $2.99. It's just that I want a paywall, even if it's something. It doesn't matter. Like it could be like if I wanted to do $50 a month, yeah, I could monetize it. That's not the point. It's a barrier to the haters and trolls to get into the Zoom when we're actually there trying to learn the skill. That's really what that's for. Robert, pro tip in place with no rent control that you can't end a lease because it's expiring, New Hampshire, and you really want them gone, just raise the rent to some ridiculous to make them leave. Matt does this. Nice. I have not heard that one. I'm trying to think. Well, I do have tenants. I look forward to them leaving. Don't know that I go out of my way to make it happen, but some people just suck. So Atlas, cashing out incurs a lot of taxes. Taxes are no fun. Right. I'm okay with taxes. I don't mind taxes at all. It's the value that you walk away with. So many people calculate their net worth and they do it wrong. They say assets minus liabilities. Bull dookie. You have $1 million house that's a rental and you have a $500,000 mortgage. So if you sell it, their definition of net worth, you'd have $500,000. Asset, million. Liability, 500,000. So you have a $500,000 net worth. Here's where it's wrong. When you go to sell it, you're going to have about 8% in selling fees, right? Even though the buyer pays, comes out of your end for agents, you might have concessions, fix anything, lower the price, adjust the price, whatever. It's usually averages out to be about 8%. Now you have a capital gain. Right? Capital gain from your basis of whatever you purchased it at to whatever it's worth now. You have to pay taxes. You have to pay depreciation recapture. So you sell the $1 million place, pays the $500 mortgage. So you only have 500,000 in gains. Then you have on that, you're going to have the agent fees came out of that. The agent fees are based on the million, not the 500,000. So 80 grand gone. Now you have 420. That's taxed. That has depreciation recapture in it. So your net worth is significantly lower than assets minus liabilities, especially depending on, let's say you own a bunch of stocks and you want to go to sell. How much are your transaction fees and how are you going to sell? How many transactions will be involved in you offloading your product? Factor all that in before you think this is what my net worth is. Now, there are some really simple equations where banks go assets minus liabilities equals this. This is how much of a DSCR loan you can get. Sure, that's inflated. Be conservative. And then my chat moved, which I appreciate. Cash flow is freeing. That's probably not in the order that I'm at. Do you pay any of the utilities for your Section 8 tenants? Don't pay any utilities for any tenants except for water. Section 8 will not pay the water, so they suggested I raise the rent to include the water. So yes and no. The housing authority said increase the rent the amount of the water. Gray area, sketchy stuff, not usually talked about on YouTube. So the rent went up. We're still within their bounds, but it couldn't be a separate charge for water. But the tenant pays their electricity, their trash. I think that's all the utilities, their internet. Yeah. All my other tenants, that's just in one case. The other tenant pays the water because I do flat fee, so that some months it's a little more, some months it's a little less, balances out. Sometimes a landlord can do like charge in the rear. You get the bill, you send it to the tenant 1 month late, and they pay you. But a lot of it depends on what your housing authority will do. An example is Thurston County, Washington. They work with us. They're pretty good at communication. Pierce County, Washington. I will never own a rental property that is with Section 8 in Pierce County, Washington. They can suck it. Their horrible customer service is why tenants or want to be tenants in Pierce County can't use the program with a lot of owners. And then cash flow stream, make sure to smash the like button so an angel gets its wings. That is very factual. Jonathan, where will the link for the Zoom members be? I do not see it in the email or a Mighty app. Right. So the course call tomorrow will be in the Mighty app. The Zoom tonight is a members only on YouTube. And so right now on YouTube, there is a video that says at 6 o'clock, there's a members only meeting. The Zoom link will be in the chat for that just before 6 o'clock, like when I leave the live stream here. Only have chat for tenant asks for rent increase. It's a lot, and I'm sure there's a solution. Yeah, no, it'll be in the chat in the Mighty, but only for the finance. The course call tomorrow night is not for the binder course. I don't do those because that's a free course that cost me 10 grand to put together. That's enough giving away. The financial freedom for the lazy person, that Zoom link will be in the chat tomorrow just before 6. System of a clown, yes, but taxes are fine when you have reached critical mass. Zero hassles moving forward. Priceless. Yeah, I'm totally fine. I look forward to the time I have to pay taxes. It means I made so much money I had to pay taxes. It's great. Laura, howdy. Good to see you here. Cash flow is free. Question. Do you pay for any of the utilities? We covered that. Letter hider. The link is in the YouTube video comment section for the members, and it will be there. Will be in the video just before then. That was a shock. Congratulations, Millennial Mike. Welcome. Thank you. Flip for fire. How long would it take a 32-year-old with 100,000 saved to get where you are? I live in Chicagoland. I live in the Chicagoland suburbs, barely in a multifamily. Well, you're close to Chicago. That means you're within an hour's drive of Gary, Indiana, and Hammond, and a bunch of other places where there are multifamily that do make sense. So I started with a lot of bad debt, not making a lot of money. So it would come down to a few factors. How much do you make versus how much you spend gives you how much you could save to invest. But you also need the element of time. So let's say I've invested $320,000 from my W-2 and $300,000 from rents. That's $620,000. It creates the cash flow that it does because I invested some of that in 2013, some of that in 2015, some of that in 2016, right? So there's the element of time mixed into appreciation, principal pay down, rent increases, opportunities to refinance to a lower rate, shopping for better interest rates, raising the deductible, things that you can do. And I know people want to hear if you're 32, you're in a good position, you could probably do it in 5 years. Real estate, okay, this is the military trainer tapping their foot on the ground telling you this will be on the test. Real estate is a get rich quick scheme. You just have to understand that 10 years is quick. If I was 32, starting out today in a better position than I was, $100,000 saved, good income, low spending, I'd make a 10-year plan. Now, if it happened faster, sure. I reached financial freedom. I could have walked away from work at 8 years. I worked 4 more because I liked my job. But I think if you make a 10-year plan and it takes 7, that's conservative. You want to estimate more years that it would take to reach financial freedom. So the number is bigger. Like I said at the very beginning of this video, the definition of conservative numbers is wrong on the interwebs. Uh, if you estimate 5 and it takes 9, you might quit at 6. You're like, I had 5 years to do this. It didn't even come close because it's hockey stick growth. It doesn't go steady growth across the board. It's those first few years, you're almost flatline. You barely even see a separation of XY axis. And then somewhere around the 6-year mark, it started the hockey stick for me. If you're in a better position, maybe the hockey stick starts at 4 or 5 years. But a safe number is 10 years. I've said this in a lot of videos. I think the average person can reach financial freedom, make work completely optional in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. Yes, it can go faster, but it's not just how much you can invest. It's not just how much work can you put in, but it's how much time impacts the assets that you own. So by 42, that sure beats the 40 for 40 for 40 plan that most people live on. AJ, oh, howdy. Atlas, a functioning portfolio on autopilot is not worth the tax loss. He is also likely considering the possibility of multi-generational wealth. True. So I've made a few videos on generational wealth, and while my kids will occasionally watch a 5 to 10 minute video because they are TikTok brained, they don't watch my long live streams. They are going to inherit millions. I don't want them to think that. I tell them all the time, my freaking next ex-wife hasn't even been born yet, and she's going to get it all when I'm 70 something. So they don't expect to get anything. In other words, I'd kill their motivation to do something productive. So I am considering that. I'm not too worried about the tax loss. Again, there's a sweet spot of I want it to be worth 5 or 6 million, but if it went up more than that, I would think owning the assets would be more important than the cash. But I think I'm like most other people. I want the freedom. So at 70, will I self-manage as good as I did at 50? Probably not. But could I sell or finance, take the tenants, toilets, and termites and put it in Millennial Mike's hands? Your problem. Get a little bit of a down payment, stupid spending money, a couple $100,000 maybe, doesn't have to be much. And then it's so weird to be in a position to say that's not much, but consistent payments from 70 for 30 years, that means I'd have a note for the whole portfolio of what was left. I still probably sold them to kill all the debt. And at that point, who knows what that note would be? It would be significantly less than the rents, so that there's a profit margin for Mike. But it would be enough to replace the cash flow that I needed, which will be a lot less at 70 than I need now. Remember the go-go years in retirement, go slow years and no-go years? I'll be in the no-go 70 probably. Yeah. But the taxes thing, that's also another thing. I mean, I'm okay with paying taxes. Wayne Wong got a pop-up for the members. Awesome. Nice. Then you're back to work. Bill O'Connell. Howdy. I use a 3-ring binder for my book. I find that I can put things in and take things out easy. Nice. Yeah, I like the spell book of doom look of my organization. But yeah, JMC. Can you give me a chuckle with those books? A comedian might be a good part-time gig. Oh, ask any girl I've tried to date. They find me hilarious because there's no way I must have been serious. REI Jared. Howdy. Good to see you. Damn, W2 is cutting into my real estate investing time. Got to fix that. Old guy REI for the pay. Is that the shirt link? Awesome. Brian. Howdy. Anyone here invest in VA or PA? Sound like real places. Is that Virginia, PA, Philadelphia? Is there any other states that can matter? I don't know. We'll just call them America. They don't teach us anything. BuzzTune invest in PA. There you go. Chester, main reason why rentals are better. What better ROI could anyone get? Risk versus reward. AJ Toy. Are there any companies that anyone here have used that just sell you reasonably vetted multifamilies? All of my properties are from the MLS, conventional loans, nothing creative, nothing fancy. There's a ton of people in the comments who have used other strategies. In the course, Cody Davis, multifamily strategies, is going to be there. He probably has access or knows what's worked. I know Millennial Mike invested at his first property in Gary, Indiana was a turnkey company, the Olson Group. I think that was who they were. See, people are texting me. Cody texting me. It's like he should know it's my lifetime. What is he doing? Okay. Back on him about that tomorrow. REI Jared. Marcus sure also does, but I don't think he's on here. Not tonight. I haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen the aloha yet. Cody is in the chat. And you texted me. What are you doing? Throw off the Emperor's Groove. Because every time a text comes through, I think, okay, the sound quit. It's locked up. Then Marcus sure was here. I also took back a message to make me wonder forever and ever what was said. Let me get to these questions. To Buzz Tune, where do you invest? I have a few in Illinois, but I'm now looking at Norfolk and Pittsburgh, but struggling to find anything that makes sense. If you could find things that make sense, they're probably terrible deals. In other words, the local investors would find them. You have to learn a market so well you can find the deals that other people are missing. Atlas. Wait. Freaking Dave Hartman. Howdy. I think I pronounced that right. Atlas. If one or more of your children want to follow your lead, would you make them a partner along the way or have them take advantage of step-up basis when the inevitable happens? I'd probably co-sign with them to help them buy. They just show no interest. If they wanted to own the properties and here's the reason why I don't have a trust. I think the biggest mistake people make is with a trust. My brother has one. It's a huge mistake. A trust to manage assets, sure. But managing rental properties is not managing assets. It's managing the tenants or the property manager or the taxes or the reserves or all these things that go into making a business run. And that's what owning rentals is. So if you have a trust and everybody says, well, then you're taken off the board and one of your kids becomes the president of the board and there's no tax incurred. Sure. No, I want the stepped up basis that you mentioned. I want the depreciation recaptured. I want the capital gains to be reset to the value that it's at when they inherit it. So no, I'm probably not going to do trust. The exception would be if one of my kids came to me in the next 10 to 20 years, bought several rentals, several being 3 or more, doesn't have to be dozens, just 3 or more. They're managing tenants, they're keeping reserves, they're doing maintenance. I see that they do this. Then forming a trust that they then replace me on when I step down or when I pass away might make sense. But if you have a trust for your kids to inherit your rentals and they haven't been running the rentals when you pass away, you are just setting them up for absolute failure. Probate would be better than what happens to a trust that's managed wrong. So blended answer depends on their level of interest. And currently, that is 0. Marcus Sherrill, howdy. Wealth with Rentals, howdy. Good to see you here. Jason, south side of Chicago. There you go. Also, I think it was Flip for Fire. When people say there's not a lot of multifamilies in my area, my question is how are you searching? They're not on Realtor. They're not on Zillow. They're not on Redfin. The deals that I've closed on showed up pending months after I closed. It's MLS search from your agents in your area. Now, if you've done that and you've searched for duplex, triplex, fourplex, small multifamily, townhomes, house with ADU, house with DADU, JADU, accessory dwelling unit, auxiliary dwelling unit, detached, junior, granny flat, mother-in-law house, like you've searched the MLS with all of the keywords that can be used because there aren't always boxes to check off. And then you don't find any, sure, maybe you could be in an area where there's not a lot of multifamily, but almost every time so far that somebody says there's none in my area, I just had a call with somebody and they said, there's really none in our area. It's too expensive. And I said, okay, well, let's move the map about 45-minute drive. And all of a sudden prices and rents lined up and they were good deals. Didn't take much. Now there's some studying of a market to go on there. You don't just go in there, well, that looks like it makes sense. Obviously, if it made sense, somebody would have bought it. You have to find out what are the good deals worth pursuing. Liz, howdy. Is it feasible to acquire 10 rentals in 3 years through hard money loan and refinance? No. Basically, BRRRR. What would be the challenges with this? Is it Feasible to acquire 10 rentals in 3 years through hard money loans and refinancing with DSCR? Absolutely. If you've been investing for 10 or 20 years and you have a portfolio of 20 or 40 or 50 properties that have the cash flow to support the mistakes that you're going to make. But if you're starting out right now, this is my opinion, and I'm getting interviewed by BiggerPockets real soon. So I'm going to say this one. I have to say this one. This is my opinion. This is not the opinion of BiggerPockets. I also say things like, don't have an LLC. That's my opinion. That's not Zuber's opinion. BRRRR is the dumbest way to start in real estate. Like there's so many slips, tricks to cup and a lip that you're going to find every one of them. Estimating ARV, estimating rehab timeline, estimating rehab costs, rehab materials, permit timeline, finding contractors, getting scammed by contractors, like all of these things that you have to learn when you don't even have a lease yet. How do you pay yourself if you're doing DSCR or hard money loans and you have to have an LLC? How do you guarantee not commingling finances? Like there's so much you're adding there when it's like, okay, it's hard enough to find a property to buy that makes money. Start with that. And yeah, you want to do it fast. I get it. If you make a ton of money and you have a ton of savings, you can afford to lose it. I don't know too many people in that position where they're like, oh, I would totally risk this money. And if I lose it, that's okay. You have so much to learn in the beginning to where Millennial Mike, for example, is that a word? Example, invest for a few years, get some rentals, gets the teams in place, gets an idea of how long it takes to do repairs and how much it costs and what the permit process is like. Buys a BRRRR. Interest rates double. Some electric panels will go into, we don't make those anywhere in the US, and the wait period is 6 months to a year or something ridiculous. Things that can happen with experience, with cash flow to support it, with reserves to support it, with a decent job. Not easy. So is it possible? Yes. Feasible? Yes. Is it smart? Let's say I started over right now, lose all the properties, got a good job. It's a 10-year journey. With my knowledge and my skill set, to me, it's still a 10-year journey. Could I do BRRRR? Yes, but it's the risk there to just add decades to your investing? Yes. Instead of save up a down payment, buy a property, save up a down payment, buy a property. Now, how much you make, how much you spend can dictate how long it takes you to save up the down payment. Maybe you can do one a year. In the beginning, I did one every other year. And it got faster after year 6. But I'm sorry, Liz, I'm just not a fan of the BRRRR method to start out. I think it's a huge mistake that we hear about the people who did a BRRRR and it went well. We don't, we go to Lowe's like 3 times at Lowe's now in the last 6 months. I'm talking to somebody about the rentals I own, or this is my handyman, taking him to the pro counter and saying, he's going to be making the phone call to me for me to pay for the whatever. Everybody that I've encountered, and not everybody, 3 times in 6 months, used to own a rental, heard about buying it and fixing it up. And they work at Lowe's. They have access to all the stuff that's there. None of them own a rental today. All 3 of them lost their rental because the BRRRR is so, and hard money. You want to put a timeline on when your rehab's going to be done? What if your city fights you on the permits? What if you get scammed by your first contractor? Now hard money goes from 8% to 15% at the end of the year. What if DSCR rates change in that year? The very beginning of this video, I talked about conservative numbers. So is it possible to do 10 rentals in 3 years? Marco Shiro, the financial firefighter, emptied his retirement accounts and got 14 rentals in 2 years. So yeah, is it possible? Absolutely. Go to his channel. Ask him during a live stream. What would you do different? And I guarantee, because I've heard him say it, the answer is going to be something like, I wouldn't do this again. Because he had the 14 with some turnovers and some evictions and some rehabs going on. And it is probably really one of the hardest 2 years he's ever had. Financial firefighter. His name is in the chat. That's what he did. So he hit the numbers that you were looking for. 10 rentals. He had 14 doors. I'm not sure how many rentals that was, but 2 years. Investing at a distance, right? He's a firefighter in Hawaii and investing at a distance. Possible, yes. Millennial Mike has been investing for 5 years, and I think has 27 doors currently. I invested now since 2013 when I closed on the first duplex. We're at 12 years of owning rentals, like purchased as a rental. I have 18 units, and I'm not even sure I want that many. I invest in a high cost of living area, so the number of doors is irrelevant to me. What would your cash flow be? And do you realize how small the cash flow is on a BRRRR? Since I've not BRRRR'd my portfolio, right? Still even haven't done the cash out on the BRRRR that I did that it's going to be my last BRRRR. I get over $1,000 a month in pure cash flow from each unit. If I did a BRRRR, it'd be a tenth of that, maybe a 20th. I think no, not a 20th. It'd be the other way. 2/10, whatever that is. I'd get like a couple $100 a door instead of 1,200, 1,300 out of some. 2,300, 2,300, 1,300. So it'd be 46 minus 13 minus set aside. Yeah, I'm getting well over $1,000 a door on some of these rentals because I haven't done a refi because I never used hard money. No DSCR loans, no rehab until after I retired. So is it possible? Yes. Is it something I suggest? No. Missed the note in Millennial Mike where he proposed. Buddies. I see a super chat from Cody. Super chatting. Did he text me? What did he text me? Let me look again. Personal debt payoff, which order is best? We'll definitely be checking. Is that on your channel, Cody? I don't want to hit go because it'll start playing. Personal debt payoff, what order is best? I did a mix of worse debt than bad debt. Buddies, howdy. I'm struggling to find a deal. I picked up some units from my property management, but I want to buy. Any tips on finding a deal for 2 to 4 units in today's market? Yeah, there's two things that shifted for me, buddies, in the last couple of years, and I found deals. The first is I used to do speed. I wanted to make an offer fast, right? I wanted to get on the seller's radar before they got a bunch of offers. And then once they got a bunch of offers, I wanted to let them know my offer still stands for when that person that made a higher offer that then beats you up on negotiations is too hard to deal with. You come back, mine's still the same offer. So speed used to matter. Now I'm watching days on market. I generally don't even want to look at properties in my market until they've been on the market 90 days or more. Some problem I'm willing to solve, someone else isn't, so that they're probably going to take lower than their asking price, and at a point where I'll make the numbers work. The second thing is I looked at the major work hub around me. For me, that's Seattle and Tacoma, and I expanded out about another 45 minutes past where I normally was. I'm normally about 35, 40 minutes from the city. Now I'm an hour and a half out from the cities. And that's because since 2020, remote work has become more of an option than at any point in our life. Yeah, there's some return to work orders going. There's some the Fed saying, hey, return to the office or whatever, but 3% of the Fed buildings had people working in them. Those kind of stats tell me that there's a lot of companies that aren't Amazon, that aren't Google, that aren't Tesla, that have people that are working remotely. About half the people I know physically work remote jobs. So further out from the city, where people only have to go to the city once or twice a week instead of 5 days, rents have pushed up due to higher demand. Prices haven't. They've pushed up a little, but they haven't pushed up as much as rents because the remote workers don't want to buy. So wherever you're investing, LA County, get out into Kern County. If you're Chicago, get out into Gary and Hammond and White Center and all these other places, get further out where the remote workers can live. Rents will push up, numbers will start to make sense. I just had a call with somebody like we did a week ago, and then 2 weeks ago we had their first call. So they scheduled a call, then we had a second follow-up for free. But during the call, we looked at their market they were in. No, it didn't really make sense. We expanded out about 45 minutes. We found price point versus rent point where all of the deals went from, in their market, we were looking at losing 18, 16, 18% on deals, just no matter what. We go out and all of a sudden, most of the deals were positive 6%. Now learn the market, figure out what is actually average. And if in just our snapshot view, we were finding 6% deals, maybe there are 8s there. Maybe there's 10s there if you learn the market well enough. So push further out, watch days on market. That's what's working for me. Bill, what's the age gap between Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson? That's not a question for me. Are you just seeing if I know everything? Because no. I've heard the Belichick name. I've never heard the Hudson name, other than Hudson Hawk with Bruce Willis, because I'm a Bruce Willis fan. And not just because the left-handed baldness, because we both have male pattern badness. But I have no idea. This is normally when I say, what is a Jordan Hudson? No, not a sports ball guy. Financial firefighter. Brian, if you are still in here, I'm on social media platforms. Just message me. There you go. Professor David, howdy. Stuckler, Professor Stuckler. Do you know, I've been investing for 7 years and now have 11 properties in Austin, 5 in Italy. Oh, that's interesting. Ton of equity. 50% LTV, about 3 million, but weak cash flow. Just wondering how best to financial freedom from here. 1031. No, I've never sold to do a 1031. It could be an option. It could be something that works. I don't know anything about the Italy market. I know you can buy houses for €1 and then you just have to spend $300,000 or $400,000 fixing them up. I've heard those, I want to say rumors, myths, memes, whatever they are. Owning in Austin, you have 7 years. At 7 years, I didn't make much cash flow either. I was probably around 70% loan to value. I was probably making at 7 years. I just passed 26 years. I passed 2,700 a month, which is more than I made as a cop. As a police officer, my paycheck was $1,300 every 2 weeks. So to me, that was a lot of money. It's not now. That's like, I want to say it's 2 rentals, but it's like 1.5 rentals. What have you done to increase your cash flow that doesn't involve touching your equity? Have you increased your deductibles with your insurance companies to reduce your premiums? Have you used the binder strategy on all of your tenants to get rents closer to market? What other value add things can you do? You've owned these for a few years. Are you watching interest rates? If you've been investing for 7, hopefully you refinanced everything in 2020, 2021 to 3% or so that you had before that. Maybe you only had 1 or 2 at that point. Financial freedom at 7 years, you have 3 more years of rent growth, probably add another property or 2. In growth mode, I would look at 70% loan to value instead of 50%. I want to be gaining more equity from more pay down, but more levered appreciation, more levered depreciation. And I don't think I would go from 50% loan to value to 70% loan to value by adding debt to an existing asset. I think I would look at buying the next property with a smaller down payment if possible. Find a lender that'll do 10% down on a rental property. They exist, changes every few weeks. So you're more levered on that property. Yeah, investing in financial freedom. It just depends on what you consider what your weak cash flow is. What is weak cash flow to you? There are investors that would look at my cash flow and go, you have 35,000 coming in. You're setting aside 9 for principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. You set aside 5 for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. You only have $21,000 a month to live. Like how do you eat? There are people who look at it that way. What's weak cash flow to you? It's 2,000 a month, 10,000 a month. Calhoun, Adam, howdy. Thanks for responding to your email. Happy to. Unless that's sarcasm, then I apologize. It's the age gap between Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson. I'm gonna have to figure that out. Cody Davis, nice. You didn't send me a Zoom invite for tomorrow. I will send it. I usually send it like just before, but I'll send it tonight. Tomorrow is a course call, so I will put the link to that in the course tonight when I send it to you. El Tigre, howdy. Starting with long-term in mind, does it only make sense to invest if the cash flow is break even or slightly negative, or only if the cash flow is positive? Only if the cash flow is positive, including setting aside for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. A break even means you're putting money to work that's not increasing how much money you have to put to work. And that could be you're in a market where it doesn't work. So you need to expand your market. You need to shift your market. You need to invest at a distance. You need to look at a different asset class. I spent the first year looking at houses and have still now in 15 years, never seen a single family house that would cash flow in my market unless you owned it 20 years before. So I switched to small multifamily. In your area, maybe it's single family. Maybe it's house with ADU. Maybe it's something different. RV pads, whatever. Maybe shift asset classes, but never buy anything that's break even, because break even, are you counting setting aside for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy, or are you losing money and calling it break even because the income is the same as the mortgage? Never negative, no alligators. I've only done cash flow positive. So I suggest doing that. And especially the less you make, the more important it is that the cash flow is positive. That doesn't mean that it's not important if you make more. I'm just saying it's more important if you make less. Atlas, I'm that 40-year-old next generation with my first rental and 12 years worth of being active in this family business. I'm also HVAC mechanic. This was my perspective with the step up in basis question. There you go. Yeah, and I mean, if you have generational wealth in mind and they express an interest, I mean, there's a difference there, but I am not a LLC or a trust fan. Momo gets money. Howdy. I almost want to say Telegram from Momo, but that's not it. It was Mongo, I know. Trying to get if let's talk about that. The edited for current television version of Blazing Saddles was released. Comes out tomorrow. It's 7 minutes long. Trying to get a few multifamilies and maybe a couple condos. I love it. I don't know about the condos thing. I love the multifamilies thing. Condos generally sometimes come with an HOA, and I will not own a rental property in an HOA. I think I have one that has an HOA for like a park at a distance, but the HOA fees that can go up and you have no control, an issue. I could work around that. The board of directors of an HOA generally being filled with douchebags that have nothing better than time to mess with their neighbors, maybe I could deal with that. The random assessments, we decided to put a new retaining wall and everybody has to cough up a check for $72,000. Not okay with me. The CCNRs for an HOA that say this percentage of units can be rentals. So you can buy one, have a tenant in it for 5 years, tenant moves out, and the HOA says, no, 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 we're above our threshold. So now you either have to leave it vacant, move into it, or sell it. Can't rent it out again. Like too many things with an HOA that make it not an option for me. I like the multifamily thing, I like the cash flowing rentals thing. Doesn't mean condos don't work. Just means it doesn't fit my strategy. Buddies, thanks. I found a 95-day listing across the street from one of my rentals. I'm putting in an offer tomorrow. Yeah, I found one on the market 147 days, listed for 500. I offered four. They counted at 477. I said four. They counted at 444 because they just like these repeating numbers. And I said four. They counted at 422. And I said, I think I'm going to pull my offer because I'm going to get another one accepted. They took my four. If it's listed that long, it probably has problems you're going to have to solve. Compensate for that with the price. Thanks again, Adam, for the Calhoun REI chat there. Happy for Mike. No, it wasn't sarcasm. Okay, good. Summertime Santa. I'm looking for a new CPA. Are there any recommendations? I think people have had good luck with main bean counters. Bob Langworthy. I don't know if they got to capacity or not. I know it's weird. So one of the things I'll do with my agents, my lenders, my handyman contractors is tips are nice, but they really like referrals, repeat growth of business. They like that. My CPA, when I first met him, he says, I'll take you on, but make sure you don't recommend anybody to me. We're full. What a weird business in that you don't want more customers. Michael Anthony. MFA looks cheap and close at 10:27 to be up 10:30. The after hours would close Monday at 10:41 and a little dip. Michael Anthony, I will tell you this with absolute sincerity. If I owned one stock, just one, I'd still have to work. Buddies, huge thanks to Dion and all the wisdom over the years. Your binder strategy has been a game changer. I've used it multiple times and locked in some great rentals. That is awesome. There is, and I just took a screenshot of somebody who sent me a message. Is this it? No, that was Obama deported 3 million people. Due to increases of criminal. No, I thought I took a screenshot. Another binder method strikes again. Tenant asked for $325 increase. I'm extremely grateful for you to introducing that to so many of the binder method. Those are awesome messages. I really appreciate getting. There was another one. I don't think I took a screenshot of it, but it came in recently of I used the binder method. I got this much and it was like 300 or 400. I only wanted 150. So happy. There you go. That's the whole point. Love it. Thanks for answering and simplify, brother. Simplify. There you go. Oh, it's absolutely inappropriate, Joe. I can't say it on YouTube. Marine to Marine. It was something like, I'll clean up the language. Crack prostitutes don't get business because Marines exist. Marines get sex because crack prostitutes exist. It was like not ready for YouTube. YouTube is not ready for any of my jokes. If somebody ever saw the things I text to some of my friends, oh, I'd be in jail. Stephen, howdy. Hope you're having an amazing week. I hope your week is full of awesome. Why are you considering selling your BRRRR? That's a good question. Angel R. Howdy. Because one time somebody called me La Cabrita, and people need to know that the female baby goat would do things like that sometimes. I've lived in it long enough for the IRS 121 rule to kick in. While I like that it's right on the water, I like that I can walk down to the ferry and go to the Seattle waterfront. I can walk down to the ferry to Bremerton and I walk to a movie theater. Like I'm central to everything I want without being central to everything because it's still kind of rural here. Like the town has a population of like 16,000 or something. I could scuba dive, I could run across the street, I could scuba dive, I could paddleboard. It's great. I love living here. It's far from all of my rentals, which doesn't really bother me, but it's far from everyone I know. I guess that doesn't bother me either because have you met people? But being able to make the money without capital gains hit, being able to make the money from it being a BRRRR where I added the value, who knows? I'm not sure. I might keep it, do a cash out refinance, add debt to an existing asset, something I have not done in the past, and buy another property. I don't know. It's weird. It's like my daughter said, if you've been on my channel for a long enough time, you know what I'm about to say. My daughter was like 16, had a nanosecond of genius before she forgot everything. You know, when you're teenagers and still know everything. She said it's really hard to make a decision when both outcomes are positive. Don't know if I'm going to refi. Don't know if I'm going to sell. I don't know if I'm going to do neither and just enjoy the cash flow and have the money sitting in the property instead of the bank because I'm not in growth mode. It's different than growth mode. So it's a good question, Angel. I don't know why or which way I'm going to go. It's a good question. It's a fair question. Oh yeah, there's another reason why I want to sell it. What is it? Oh, the bad taste in my mouth from the city of Port Orchard, not to name anybody by name, but Port Orchard, Washington, was so hard with the permits. Like all the contractors said, it should take 3 months, and it took 10. There's a man, everything I want to say is just too dark. It's positive, be positive. Going to the desert as a combat veteran and planting flowers for the freedoms that our country gets makes me so freaking irritated that I have to go beg my city for permission to improve my structure so they can make more tax money. So it's an emotional response, which we don't invest on emotions. That's why I don't know which way I'm going to go. I'm gonna let myself sit and go get some long range therapy to figure out. Dealing with the HOAs too. Momo gets money. I agree. Professor David, thanks. Yes, Austin is tricky. Rents, falling property taxes have gone up as fast as rents. Cash flow 2,000 a month, but from financial freedom, love to hit your numbers as year 10. More love, more seems counterintuitive. It does, but remember, so that's why we're not adding debt to an existing asset. It's when you buy something else, you have more levered appreciation, more levered depreciation. That's why adding properties, which incurs more debt, grows your net worth, grows your cash flow, gets you the financial benefits from owning real estate that's levered. And you said 50%, I said around 70%. I wouldn't go above 70%. Like there's a balance there too. Andres, howdy. Who do you use for a CPA, and can you please share how much you get charged for their services? I think I pay $1,100 a year. It's a bit much, but they do way more than just here's your tax filings. We have like I don't want to say he's a friend, but we have conversations throughout the year to talk tax strategy, to talk planning to 5 years from now. I'm never charged for that. It's just a one lump fee, and they handle everything, all the properties. That's including the insurance in case there's an audit, which they handled for me once, and it was fine. And he asked me not to refer anybody. He lives in Alaska, and I invest in Washington State, but got him through a business I used to work at, used him as a CPA, and that's how I got to him. So finding a CPA, Our one rental at a time community often recommends Bob Langworthy from Maine Bean Counters, who is not who I use, but I probably will switch to someday. All-nighter hider, an HOA covenant is a tool like fire. It can keep your house warm and cook your food or burn it to the ground. Nice. Angry capitalist. Hoorah. Any Marines ever been on an army base? This is a different language. First time some tard said to me, I thought, you sick? You're going to throw up a hairball like my cat? All right. Le Tigre, El Tigre, El Tigre. Do you play golf? I do not. When I retire, that's all I'm going to do. I play video games. I play VR. I scuba dive. I teach defensive tactics, although that's getting less and less, probably 2, 3 times a month now. Because it's far. Again, another one of the reasons why I'm not too happy with this. It's because there's 2 towns that I do defensive tactics with. I'm like an hour and a half away, so it's kind of a pain to go do that now. Not golf, never got the bug. Um, I'm a solo drinker. I'm not a social drinker. If I was a social drinker, I'd probably play golf. And I think I'm all caught up on questions, unless I missed some. If I missed anything, please just put it back in the chat. Should travel more while foreigners still like Americans. You know, they like Americans because of Trump. So here's an overshare that's halfway through the bottom of the glass. Go to Portugal for 2 months. And I actually, luckily, we saw this. Me and my brother saw this before we encountered this in a restaurant bar. I don't know what they call them. Wasn't a bistro, wasn't a cafe. It was a restaurant. It was a bar. People sat down, asked where they were from. They were from like New Jersey or something. And the people asked, literally, this was 2023 when I was in Portugal. No kidding. They said Trump or Biden. And the people said Biden, and they made him leave the building. They were saying things like, you understand Ukraine is being attacked because your president's, they called him a bunch of names. There's a bunch of countries that aren't going to like us, and there's going to be some that do. So I don't personally don't care who's in office. I have a plan for either way. But still like Americans, that's less and less no matter who's in office. Been on a lot of army bases. I love seeing the Air Force play kickball for PT in the morning, though. That was hilarious. But I was also envious as I had to run 5 miles in boots instead of kickball. Yeah. The equipment also made me jealous as a Marine, too. That was the thing. We got the hand-me-downs and the used stuff. Like, oh, you got those M1 Abrams. Yeah, like 18 years after we got them to the Army. Right, he's from France, loves Trump, and he's Arabian. Yeah, it's weird. I've been in so many other countries where they're like, there will be some who are unhappy, right? They chant death to America all the time. It doesn't matter who's in there, but there are also some, like Taiwan, that are like, yeah, maybe you guys should have him in charge. Giving it a few more minutes in case there are any real estate related questions. I know that there's too many overshares at the end, and there were a couple of questions, a couple of comments of, I want to hear the overshares. No, you don't. I've done the overshares with people I thought were friends, not on YouTube, and not really seen them since. I don't like cold water. I don't like the Pacific Northwest for the cold water. I like that there's very few things here trying to unalive me when I dive. It's dry suit here. That's okay. So getting in and out is the only pain. I do like to travel for the better water. There are some interesting things like under the Narrows Bridge and some good wrecks around here to dive for. I do enjoy diving more when I travel. And the cold water here, the paddleboard, not in the water too much for that. It's seasonal. Like I used to say you're really lucky if summer falls on a weekend, but now every day is my weekend, so I don't care when summer falls. This guy Chris out here that I want to go paddleboarding with the next time the weather plays nice, but we're probably months away from that. Financial freedom is possible. This video started with conservative numbers. Set your timeline conservatively, which I showed at the very beginning of this video. I said, this is why I was talking about this, because conservative numbers, the definition is wrong. It says a conservative number is an estimate that intentionally lowers the actual value, that is intentionally lower than the actual value. It is a cautious guess that is likely to be less than the real amount. And that's not what a conservative number is. A conservative number can be bigger or smaller. Right? If you're estimating rents on purchasing, trying to get your cash on cash return, estimate them low. So yeah, it's lower. If you're estimating rehab costs, you estimate them bigger. If you're estimating rehab timeline, you estimate it bigger. If you're estimating your timeline on financial freedom, well, 3 years is possible, 7 years is possible. The longer you conservatively estimate it, the more likely you are to be successful. If you had a paid for entry-level property returning 5 to 6% after expenses and paying a property manager 9%, would you keep it 1031? Or I have one paid off property, one paid off single family. Its return is probably like 30% now that it's paid off. So you have a paid off property that's only getting you 5 or 6%, 5.5 to 6%. I'd have to know the numbers. So here's the litmus test question I give myself when it's over. Okay, would I sell this property or would I buy it? And I'll use it to answer Angel's question as to why I might sell this BRRRR. Every time somebody asks me, I have this property, here's the details, here's what it's making. Should I sell it or should I keep it? Instead of what are you making or what are you getting rid of? Let's say, Frank, you have the property and right across the street, there's a mirror image property. Same bedrooms, same parking, same market, same neighborhood, same insurance, same taxes. Everything was the same. You own the property now and it's paid off. The other one is for sale. The person selling it comes to you and says, I don't care what the property's worth. I'm going to sell you this house for exactly the same price as you bought the one you have. I'm going to give you the same interest rate. So in this case, it's paid off. You're going to buy it for the amount that you bought it and it'll be paid off. Would you buy the one across the street? So Frank, would you buy the one across the street if it was for sale and everything was identical for the same price that you paid? I'll give you a minute for it to catch up so I can see your chat. Sometimes I forget to pour myself a chaser. You paid 80,000. Would you buy the one across the street for 80,000 if it was for sale right now and it was absolutely identical? That's not the question. Not what did you pay, not when did you buy it, but if the one across the street today was for sale for $80,000, would you buy it? If the answer is I would buy the property for what I paid for this one, why would you sell it? You own an asset you would buy at a price you would pay. If the answer, like my BRRRR, is would I buy this for $400,000, knowing I had to put 62,000 into it and that it was going to take 10 months? Probably not. I'm not putting 10 months into owning property in retirement. That's why I would probably sell it. So since I wouldn't buy it, even though it's going to make me a couple $100,000 in profit, it's not worth the 10 months of my life. If you would buy that for $80,000, you have one that you paid $80,000 for. How can you make it cash flow better? Is it tenant turnover and a rehab? Get the market rents out of it. Is it binder strategy, the current tenants? It's hard to imagine buying something 20 years ago for $80,000 and now it's only cash flowing 5.5 to 6%. Like I mean, like maybe in some place in Detroit that just died and never came back. I'm so under caffeinated. Apologies if that question wasn't coherent. I'll get to that question in a second. T Gray, I've watched 2 of your videos where you explain cash flow. Can you do one and break it down Barney style? I should probably whiteboard it, but it takes too long to set that up. So I'll maybe do a separate video. So here's the Barney style version of cash flow. The cash flow is all the money coming out, coming towards you, coming in. So all of the rent, anything, if you have paid parking, paid storage, paid laundry, whatever it is, any money that's coming, pet fees, minus principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So if it's paid off, it's taxes and insurance. If it has a mortgage, it's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So you take that out. So if you have $1,000 in rent coming in and you have no pets and you have no laundry, it's $1,000 coming in. And your mortgage is $500 going out. You're paying principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Then you have to set aside money. So this is money going out that really just goes into an account for future expenses. So repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. I set aside 15% because I'm in a high cost of living area. Average duplex in this area costs about $700,000. Millennial Mike invests in Gary, Indiana, where it costs 2 goats and a taco to buy. So he needs to set aside more than 15% of gross rents for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy, because while the roof is a little cheaper in his area, it's $6,000 instead of 9. It's not $50 instead of 10,000, right? It's a difference, but it still costs money. So the lower the cost of living area you are, you need to set aside more money. In my market, 15% works. So 15% of this $1,000 a month would be $150. So 500 goes out to the mortgage, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. 150 goes into an account for future repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. That leaves me with $350 in cash flow. A lot of people forget about the set aside money for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy. That doesn't tell you the yield, right? Cash flow is just how much am I making? Not really a number I've ever really cared about too much. I've always focused on yield. So the cash on cash return on investment is annual profit. So in this case, we had $1,000 going out or coming in, 500 going out, 150 being set aside, so 350. So 350 times 12 gets me annual profit. Not going to do the math. 6 cups in today. So, hey Siri, what's 350 times 12?
350 times 12 is 4,200.
So your annual profit is 4,200. Now, what is your cost to acquire? How much did you invest into this property, move from the bank into the property? If you invested $10,000 because you did an owner occupied first time home buyer, whatever, and it cost you 10 grand to get in there, to fix it up, to pay for all the fees, 4,200 annual profit divided by $10,000, your cost to acquire, you'd have a 42% cash on cash return. If it costs you $40,000 to get, let's say it cost you $42,000 for easy math, your down payment, your closing costs, your immediate repairs, all of that together was $42,000 with 10% cash on cash return. So cash flow is profit, right? Money coming in minus expenses minus what you set aside. Cash on cash return is, here's the equation, annual profit divided by cost to acquire, 7 words. That's about as Barney style as I can get. The cost to acquire, the annual profit, is what tells me good deal or bad deal when it comes to math. Brian, howdy. I have a similar, the property manager fees takes a ton off the top. Without that, your yield would be over 10. The funny thing, Brian, is property managers often make more than the property owner in a lot of cases. So in a lot of cases, the $1,000 coming in, you have a $600 or $700 mortgage. That's not 500. That was just a random number I picked. But so if you have a $700 mortgage and you set aside $150 for repairs, maintenance, and vacancy, that means that out of $850, the property manager, if they get paid 10%, they're going to get $100 and the owner is going to make 50. As long as you're okay with your property manager making more than you, it's okay to have a property manager. Angry capitalist on the question that might confuse me. Any advice on building a team, common mistakes, etc. Looking to buy my second multifamily current owner occupied duplex FHA. I've self-managed for 3 years and I'm looking to use the VA program. I have not used my VA loan yet, and I've never used FHA. Curious that you did. So building a team. Oh, that's the thing. Because the interview with BiggerPockets next week is things Dion does backwards. Uh, backwards. This is one I do backwards. I do not want a team, not the normal team that a lot of people have. They go, "Oh, you got to have your lender." Nope, I want my lender to hate my ever-loving guts. I shop rates every time. I can make them compete. If they don't want to let me shop rates, I don't work with them. Uh, I take what the large bank, because they have the strictest lending criteria, offers me, and I take that in writing, email or whatever, to the broker, the credit union, the guild, Fairway mortgage brokers that are out there, and I say, here's what the bank is offering me. Can you beat it? If they can beat it, I take it back to the bank and say, here's what you need to match to keep my business. And if they can, they get it. If they can't, then I go to the other person. My lenders don't like me. My real estate agent, while they're happy that I send them referrals, if I don't get if I call at 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday and you don't answer, I'm going to the next agent and I tell them all that. So yeah, I'll sign an exclusivity agreement, whatever I have. But if you're not answering at 10 o'clock, as soon as this thing's out and void, you're not ever working with me again. I don't have a real estate agent. The one I'm working with now, David, who I've referred to several people, he's great because he answers the freaking phone or text or gets back to me quick, does all of those things. It's not my friend. He doesn't want to be my friend. We're friendly to each other. I don't want a team. I want him knowing that if he doesn't provide the best service, somebody else will be providing service too. I get at least 3 quotes every time I talk to a contractor or a handyman, every single time. So because I don't have a team, I probably have some challenges other people don't, but I'm always getting the best rate. I'm always getting the best price. I'm always getting the best interest rate. I always sleep better at night knowing I put in the energy and the time and the effort to optimize how the deal is going to go. So building a team, what are you not willing to do? So here's the closest thing that I have to a team. And even that is a revolving door. Since I self-manage and I like to travel a lot, I rely a lot on handymen. But that doesn't mean I have one. I have 3 to 5. And for some reason, there's a reason why people are handymen, because they can't keep a regular job. So if they're available and they have a fair price, they get to work. If not, just go through, scroll the phone for all the handyman and contractors and Thumbtack app to find new ones when the ones I have are either busy or cost too much to find somebody new. So I don't have a team. That doesn't mean you shouldn't have one. That just means that's what works for me. Millennial Mike has a property manager at a distance. He's worked with the same contractors at a distance. He's got that team at a distance. He doesn't self-manage locally. So to build a team, here's how I find my handyman. I usually word of mouth, local Facebook marketplace, Facebook groups, investor groups, go to local REI meetups like next Monday at 6 o'clock at something dog. There's a Mexican restaurant in Tacoma where I forget the name of it. But we're having the Tacoma FI meetup. And somebody there will know handyman, will know contractors, or is a handyman or is a contractor, face-to-face reviews, hire them for something small, swap out a sink, drywall repair, fix a fence, whatever it is, and watch. How do they communicate? How do their prices compare to your other, their competitors in the area? How is their interaction with the tenant? How does the tenant communicate with you after their interaction with them? Because I've had one go, that guy's great. Whenever he shows up sober, his work is awesome. What do you mean sober? Let's have a conversation. So you can vet your people that way. The lenders, reach out and contact them and let them know, look, I go with a large bank because they have the strictest lending criteria. Whatever I qualify for them, I'm probably going to qualify for more or easier with you. Whenever I go under contract, I'll be reaching out to let you know what the bank said. If you can beat it, you get my business. Bank's going to get a chance to match it. I'm just absolutely transparent with it. So I've got some lenders that told me, don't call them because they know their rates aren't competitive and they know they're not going to do the work and they're not going to respond fast enough for me. So they save all of us the time. Other lenders like, absolutely. I probably can't beat them all the time, but if I can currently, when you send me something, I'd love to do it. So build those lists in advance. To sleep better at night, I also have, and I keep them in my phone. So this list of each address, this is what I should really make a video on. Each property is in my phone under what I call it, right? So I have the Bicentennial property, the Sacramento property, which is in Washington State, the whatever properties, right? In the notes section, it's got everything that's in my book: mortgage number, insurance number, current tenants' names, current tenants' lease start and end date, and all that's like the notes in the notes section. And in there is also in Thurston County, here's the HVAC, which I hate HVAC companies that I'll use that did really good work. And I wish I remember their name. It was like, because I want to give them credit because there was one that did a really bad job, one did a good job. But I have the note in there of who they are. This is the plumbing company that I would use. This is they have 24-hour, 7-day a week emergency service. It's all in the notes. Then over here, I've got this one it's in Yelm, which is Thurston County, but it's nowhere near those companies. So in the notes section, it's my electrician, plumber, not the ones I've hired, but the ones that would be the ones I call if I need to. So I can go anywhere as long as I've got my phone with me. And I know if this property has a problem, here's what's going to happen to handle it. So I can go to sleep and relax because there isn't this emergency of, oh no, what do I do? The emergency is, oh, what type of emergency is this? Here's who I'm going to call. Angry capitalist. There we go. Okay. Momo gets money. And my chat moved. I own a single family house. I'm thinking of selling and using the money to buy a multifamily, bought for 165 and would try to list for 205 to 235. Probably can't sell, rent more than 1,700 a month, and mortgage is 1,550, PITI included. I'm also looking to use VA loan. Okay, so VA loan is interesting. Argued with a guy the other day because I always argue on Facebook, so at a distance nobody could tell who the fool is. He was a lender, and he's like, I said the VA loan can be used to buy up to 5 units. And the lender was like, absolutely not. I've been doing this for 27 years, blah, blah, blah. You know, because anybody who mentions how long they've been doing something means that they're absolutely outdated in how things work. So the VA loan can buy up to 5 units, and here's how. It can be used to buy a single family house or a house with an ADU, right? It can be used to buy a duplex. See if you notice a pattern here, or a duplex with an ADU. It can be used to buy a triplex or a triplex with an ADU. It can be used to buy a fourplex or a fourplex with an ADU. If you have a fourplex and an ADU, how many freaking units do you have? Anyway, with the VA loan, I would consider going small multifamily. I would look at your cash flow, but I would look at the math as though you did 20% down, because if you put 0 down, it's very easy to look like you have an infinite return. But do you want to own a fourplex that makes $1 a year? Is that worth it? What would your cash on cash return be if you had to put 20% down, run the math like that? You can actually go, okay, if I put down 5% or whatever, what is my cash flow? Sure, feel good about that. But that's not how you know if it's a good deal or a bad deal. Good deal or a bad deal means this deal is the best out of the deals I'm looking at. So not how much you would make matters, but how much this one makes more than the ones around it matters. I see a super chat from Angry Capitalist. Very insightful. I think your method would suit my personality. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Appreciate the super chat. I'll probably be ending this here soon because I've got to get to the members only group. If you're a member, the video is already there. It's up. It hasn't started yet. You can join Zoom if you want to. Don't have to. We're going to look at deals. So if somebody has a deal they want us to look at, probably not one that you're buying right now, so you'll create competition, but one you want us to look at, maybe one you looked at, decided not to get. We can look at it together. We'll go through all the mental process, stream of consciousness, what we do when we look at a deal. This video tonight, normally the members only videos are only up for members, but the one tonight, tomorrow morning, is going to be turned on to a public video. So everybody will be able to see everything we said. So be careful what you say. Even when I say this is gray area sketchy stuff that we usually keep to ourselves. We love the overshares, makes you more human and relatable. Same with Zuber. Notice his videos where he curses and is less diplomatic have the most views. That is true. I try not to overshare the stuff that scares people away, though. So, because there's a lot. 7 million works fine for me, just like a little cold going to Maui for work next month. Planning on 8 dives there. Nice. 7 mil works. Okay, yeah. For that, I like Colombia was pretty good. Water was all right. Thailand, no wetsuit required. Just something so your vest doesn't rub on you is all you really need. Yeah. Angel, the biggest challenge for me is that the roof replacement and labor costs in my market are almost the same as in New York. Exactly. Where the rents are 4 times higher than what they get here in Pennsylvania. That's why the lower the cost of living area, the higher percentage of gross rents you need to set aside. Last question from Chris. Paddleboarder. What might be the best way to lower debt to income? Currently save about 40% of my W-2 pay. Debt is only on mortgages. Thanks. So the cool thing with debt to income, so how long, Chris, this is what you would think. How long have you had rentals and rental income on your tax returns? Because the first 2 years are the most challenging. They actually don't want you to scale too fast in the beginning because there's so many ways to mess up. Once you have a couple of years of experience, they go, you have leases, you collect rents, this is how things are working for you. Going forward, after 2 years, we will consider 75% of all of your rents, including the property you are purchasing, making an offer on, in your debt to income ratio. So it's after those first 2 years that it's a lot easier. And they do 75%. So if you're buying cash flowing deals, 75% should cover the mortgage. If it doesn't, you might have other challenges going on. So that's the easiest way to get rid of debt to income issues. If debt to income is actually a real problem, DSCR loans can make more sense. Seller financing is the golden child of solving most of those problems, but DSCR loans don't look at your debt to income ratio. They don't look at your credits. Well, no, they do look at your credit score. They do look at your net worth, but they don't look at your income, debt to income ratio, work history. They look at the property's performance. So DSCR is an option to solve DTI issues. I had a bad debt to income ratio, was living in my house, moved into an apartment and rented the house out for 2 years to get that rental income on my tax returns. This also allowed me to work as a CDL instructor for 2 years, which was a new field because I'd come out of law enforcement. And so I had 2 years to become bankable. So that first 2 years was a slow slog for me. How many rentals do you have, Chris? And how long have you had them? And how long have you had the rental income that you report on your tax returns? And don't worry if you report on your tax returns, but it looks like you lost money because of depreciation and write-offs. The lender is going to take depreciation out of your debt to income ratio from your taxable income on your tax returns to go, this is what you actually made. So write-offs can screw you if you have too many in a year, right? So there have been years where gray area sketchy stuff. I have selectively not taken tax write-offs for items, which is legal. You're actually allowed to pay more on taxes if you just feel like it. It does no benefit to not take depreciation because if you ever go to sell or you have depreciation recaptured on it, it is always assumed, and don't make an assumption because you make an ass out of you and option. It is assumed that all depreciation was taken, even if you didn't use any. We're going to wrap up there because I could go for hours, but I want to be ready for the members only live stream. The video's up. I will see you there. And again, if you're not a member, tomorrow you get to see why the members only are done separately from YouTube because I don't want to kill my YouTube channel. Have a week full of amazing. Video coming out Thursday is, I love my memory. I couldn't remember this title in my last video. Dang it. It's from the poll. It's the third one that got the least amount of votes. Oh, how rent control made me richer and is going to make more tenants homeless. That's coming out Thursday. It'll be a live stream. See you there.